Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on how to get feedback when public speaking. This is one of those questions I get asked quite a lot. How do I improve my public speaking? How do I know whether I've done a good job? How do I know what areas I could move or change just to take it to the next level? And feedback is one of the areas, one of the ways of improving, of growing, becoming more effective at your public speaking. So, Peter Dhu is my name, and it's a pleasure to be here sharing my knowledge around public speaking and presentation skills. I'm a public speaking trainer and coach, and my passion is to help you guys out in the virtual world, in the real world, when we get back face to face, to be more confident, more effective, and more influential in your public speaking. Public speaking is a leadership skill. How to participate, ask questions during the webinar, after the webinar, take notes, participate, add comments, and think and apply it to your own situation. How are you going to get feedback for your next presentation? What sort of feedback do you want? So first of all, what should my feedback look like? Because if we just give people feedback, if we just ask for feedback, at the end of this webinar, could you all just, let me know how I went and give me feedback via email? And you give me feedback, it was really, really, really good, or it was really, really bad. How do I use that feedback? What value is there in that feedback? If it's really, really, really good, but I still want to improve and make changes and make it more engaging, good doesn't help me. And if it's really, really bad, well, I don't want to be really, really bad. What can I do to not be so bad, to not suck? How do I take the suck out of my webinars? So here's some things that'll help you with your feedback. Needs to be immediate. No point sending me an email in July and say, oh, Peter, that February workshop, by the way, I noticed that you said a lot of ums and ahs. I noticed your eye contact was not with the camera. I can't remember this presentation in July. So immediate. The US Navy SEALs, they debrief, they feedback, good and bad, immediately after every mission. So the immediacy, don't interrupt me mid-presentation, please. Oh, can you stop for a moment? I'm noticing you're doing lots of ums and ahs, but straight after. Make it specific. Remember, the good or the bad is non-specific feedback. So what did I do bad? Specifically, I used too many ums. Specifically, I fidgeted and wiggled in the chair. Specifically, my eye contact was that I'm reading off some Post-it notes on the roof or something like that. Specific. Make it actionable. Some of you know that I'm a person who stutters. I got my stutter reasonably well under control. But every presentation I do, every workshop, which goes for 7 hours, I will stutter 2 or 3 times. So to give me feedback, oh, by the way, Peter, I notice you stutter more after lunch than you did in the morning. Yep, I get tired. What can I do with that? I'm a person who stutters. I don't have the ability to not stutter. I mean, I use my therapy technique and I slow down and I use deep breathing and soft onsets to reduce my stuttering. But so just be aware that the feedback needs to be something that people can take action on and give them permission to be honest. So this is a template for you when you're speaking. You can ask people, could you give me feedback at the end of my presentation? I'm working on my ums and ahs and other filler words. Can you let me know how many ums and ahs I did, how my eye contact was, and I give you permission to be truthful. That's a good model to help you get feedback. Now, if you are a boss, a leader, and you go to a subordinate, a worker, someone who works under you, and you go to them to give you feedback on maybe your presentation, they may not be honest because they are afraid of reprisals, of retribution if you do say things that they don't like. So sources of feedback. And remember, there is no failure, it's only feedback. And that's from Robert Allen. And Ken Blanchard said, feedback is the food of champions. So feedback is a way of growing, a way of learning, a way of improving our presentation skills. Feedback is the loop that comes back that lets us know how well we've done. Sources of feedback. Ask a colleague, someone you trust. If it is a subordinate, give them permission to be honest. Make it psychologically safe for them. There's not going to be any consequences. Don't give them complete open, just how did I go? Be specific in that feedback. Ask a stranger. So when I present workshops or at conferences, it's very possible that there's no one there that I know, but I'm there early. One of my mantras is get to the venue an hour minimum, an hour and a half early, walk on the platform, check out the technology, speak to the audio-visual person, make sure my PowerPoint's working, audio's working, everything. It's a normal thing to do with public speaking. And there's those early arrivers, the person that's there half an hour early, just wandering the corridors, and you can have a chat to them and introduce yourself. And one of the things with this is you've now kind of made a friend. So you're not speaking to strangers. You've got some people you've connected with in the audience. You can ask that person, look, would you do me a favor? I'm trying something new in this presentation. Could you let me know how you think the rhetorical question I use at the 5-minute mark, how does that go? How does it work for you? How did you sense it worked for the audience? Could you just give me feedback on whether you think the PowerPoint slides are a waste of time, whether I should just tell my story, or whether the PowerPoint slides add value to what I'm sharing with you today? Thirdly, you can always video yourself. This webinar is being recorded to share with people who are unable to attend. I can review this presentation on the video. When you're doing a live presentation, hand your mobile phone to a colleague, to a friend, maybe not a stranger, someone you trust, and ask them to video record 5-10 minutes of your presentation. It may be the opening, it may be the end, it could be a random 5 to 10 minute segment. You've now got that video to do a review, and you'll be able to count your own ums and ahs. You'll be able to look at your own distracting waving around, fidgeting with hands and, cracking of knuckles. You'll see that for yourself in the video. And to some extent, you can be a self-coach, but hold on to that thought of being a self-coach. You can send the video file to a colleague, to a trusted friend, to a mentor, or to a coach. You can pay a public speaking coach like me to give you feedback on that presentation. You can practice a presentation before going live. Maybe you've got a wedding speech. Video record yourself, send it to a coach. They'll give you feedback, ideas. Then you can refine it. And then the real presentation, record again. And then you'll get a before the coaching comments and an after presentation and further coaching comments. That's the power of video. You can do a post-workshop survey. These are forced choice, excellent, average, poor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, give me a score out of 10. I prefer open questionnaires. So I'll email a questionnaire to people. And 3 questions. What did you like about the workshop? Or what did you like about the presentation? And in brackets, what did the presenter do well? And the second question is, what could the presenter do differently? In brackets, what could they change, include, delete to make the presentation even better from your perspective? And the third question, any other comments? And in brackets, I put logistics, catering, timing, venue. And sometimes people don't like the venue. Sometimes the catering's rubbish. And sometimes that's not my fault because I'm a guest speaker at a conference and I can pass that feedback on to the conference organizer, but I don't need to change my behaviour. But then but every now and then I am the organizer and I know that I have to up my game in terms of catering. Instant coffee doesn't go down well anymore. And even when I book a room, most people as a minimum will put, most conference venues at a minimum, so this is my room booking, will put an espresso machine as a minimum so you can have, decent coffee. Sometimes you can bring in a barista. And what I do well, I can amplify that. I can keep that part of my presentation in. What I do bad, what I don't do as well, I've got the option to eliminate that and take it away. You can practice in front of a mirror. So, the swaying or the distracting nonverbals, the people who bounce their hands. You can work on this yourself in front of the mirror. And maybe you want to grow your gesture vocabulary. Maybe you don't have much and you've only got a bounce. And you want to learn how to maybe illustrate numbers. So, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.3, 0.2, 0.4. That doesn't necessarily come automatic. Maybe you want to reframe, look at something in a different perspective, and you may decide to use the gesture. Let's reframe that. Let's reframe that from fear to excitement. Many people struggle doing that reframing gesture. Don't practice growing your gestures on stage. A mirror is a perfect place to practice in terms of your eye contact, your body language. Maybe I need to smile a bit more. Maybe I need to smile. Maybe I need to tell jokes and I'm not a very funny person. I can get some of that feedback from the mirror. You can always practice with family and friends, by the way, especially for those important presentations. Job interview. One of the keys to job interviews is practice, is preparation. Get someone to throw different questions at you. I said you can self-coach when you look at the video and you can self-coach looking at the mirror. But as a general rule with public speaking, especially when you're doing a workshop or a live presentation, avoid that internal critic or that self-feedback that you give yourself during the presentation and after the presentation. You know the feedback I mean. Wow, I really bombed on that one. I should have done this. I could have. Half my content just disappeared. Avoid that self-feedback. Here's the reason why. Because with public speaking or training or presenting, you're really focusing and presenting for the audience, for the people in the room. And each individual person wants something from you. They want knowledge, they want answers, they want expertise, they want solutions to their problems. So the feedback needs to be from the perspective of your audience. Did they enjoy your presentation? Did you do a good job from their perspective? I know that you may have mucked up, forgotten something. In my case, have a few stutters. I know that. But I need to silence my internal critic and invite the feedback from the audience, from the people who matter. For the very reason I'm here is to educate you, to help you, to support you, not to build my ego or to look good. So here's, I guess, some tough love. If you do a really good presentation, you nail all your points, cover them off beautifully, and it's bang on the money, and you feel that you've nailed it, and you walk off stage feeling really good about yourself, and the feedback is that was a waste of time. That was just a self-indulgent presentation of no use to me. If that's the feedback you get, then you've bombed your presentation. You've crashed and burned. I sometimes see this with elite sporting people that talk about their achievements and how they got their gold medals and how hard they trained and the obstacles they overcome. And it's all about me, me, me. And that's sometimes good if you're a stand-up comedian. It's about entertaining people. But generally, even if you are an inspirational speaker, the audience has come to learn from you some skills they can take away. Let me turn the coin upside down. You now know the presentation where you bombed. You know you forgot half your content. You had more stutters than you would have liked. You had brain drains and you're actually a nervous wreck, and you walk off and you chastise yourself and you beat yourself up. And the feedback was, wow, Peter, thank you very much. That message was transformational. I wish I knew that 10 years ago. You've made a big impact on my life. If that's the feedback that I've got, then I've nailed my presentation. So this is why I say avoid self-feedback, because if you think you've done a good job, but you haven't had impact with the audience, you haven't done a good job. And if you think you've done a really bad job, but the audience loves you, then you've done a really good job. And the changes you make are not what you think you need to make. It's what the audience needs so you can have more impact on them. You can have a more transformational message, a more influential message, a more engaging presentation. So there's a bit of tough love for you. And one of the things with fear of public speaking is we do negative self-evaluation. When you can silence that self-critic and welcome the voice of others in how you really went, and they don't care if you're a little bit nervous or if your face goes red. If they've got good messages, they've got information they can use that's useful to them, they're going to love you. Feedback. Summing up, what should feedback look like? Immediate is better. Specific, not wishy-washy. Actionable, allow them to be honest. Sources of feedback, you can ask a colleague, a friend, you can practice in front of a family. When you don't have any colleagues or friends present and it's live, you can ask a stranger to take some notes and give you feedback. Some people know that I'm a public speaking trainer and coach, and when they notice I'm in the room, they're not a friend or a colleague, when they notice I'm in the room, they say, Peter, I'd love your feedback on my presentation. Video record your presentation, do a survey, and practice in a mirror. Avoid self-feedback. What you think of yourself may not be the reality in the eyes of your audience. One more webinar for February, how to recover when something goes wrong. Oh, yes, that brain drain, that foot in mouth, that glitch. How do you recover? Workshops coming up, Port Hedland in February, Women in Leadership in Perth and in Bunbury. We've got some more workshops in Perth in March on our website. Need any further information? Feel free to contact me. I would value your feedback, and I look forward to you at the next webinar. So every time you present, seek feedback, make it specific, and just avoid that self-feedback. This is Peter Dhu, public speaking trainer and coach. Bye for now.